Hi, my name is Melinda, and I'm going to be discussing the topic of the right to be forgotten. More specifically, the opposition to that topic. I will go over evidence and my arguments that I have come up with to support this topic, and I will basically flow through the points and why and go through also counter arguments to the topic. All right, so let's get into it. We all know the internet as a place of free flowing information. Since it is easier now than ever for anyone to get information about anything, and every day that increases to how much it is a relevant topic to talk about what data is stored about on us as individuals on the internet, and then what it is released to, or where it is released to, and who has access to that information. I said this topic on this paper will discuss the right to be forgotten, which is basically having all your information or private information removed from the internet or not being able to access by the general public. Personally, I am in support of that topic. I am in support of having my information off the internet. But I'm going to discuss why I would oppose that topic. And I feel like that's going to be a very interesting way, just because it will bring me to just a bit of an eye-opener and just discuss the opposite side of that. I did come up with about 3 arguments not supporting the right to be forgotten. So I will just go through and list what I've had. Now, first, it's important to talk about a little bit of the background of the internet and why people would support this choice for not having people's data erased on the internet. So the internet was created in 1983, and not long after that, if many remember the very popular book by George Orwell called 1984, Big Brother's Watching, it definitely ties into this topic about who has access to information and then what the government knows and such. But the internet was really created, there wasn't really much rules about, it was easy access for anything you wanted. And then that is still true today. Personal data collection didn't just start on the internet. We can look far back, and in America specifically, about how the United States would conduct census on its citizens and people in its country. So the census collects personal information about your age, your race, your name, your address, of course, various informations like that. And throughout the years, that information has definitely increased in the amount of questions that they ask. And we've been filling out the first census. You can go dates as far back to 1790. And they were going through horseback on paper and hand. And then eventually by the 1950s and 60s, they were collecting information. The government was collecting information using those large mainframe computers that would take up a whole room. So data collection is nothing new to this country. And so people like to look on that history of about kind of conserving how, well, it's a way kind of people were looking around to support it. They're like, you're already giving your information out to the government, and now that information is now available online. And then now it's just, what can we do with that information that is really what plays into the ethical issues of the topic. So businesses, they took that model of, collecting information, and they started collecting information about their customers. And businesses have always wanted to know who their customers are. If you're running a business, you want to know who you're selling to so you can maximize your profit. You know what they like. and you can better cater to them with more products. And so that, along with businesses, wanting to know about their people, and along with collecting data and the internet, businesses were able to start collecting data through the internet about people and their consumers. Now, when people started having a problem with this, and the consumers and the businesses and the government, they're all each on opposing sides. And so it raises questions for ethical issues. And so because this is an ethical issue, we have to evaluate it from an ethical standpoint. So I decided to evaluate this a bit by using a deontological framework, ethical framework. And so, a little background about deontology is basically that people have the choice to do what is right, because they have the choice to decide what is right and is wrong, because humans are capable of rationality, and because they're rational, humans are capable of being autonomous, and therefore they can judge other people's characters because we have the choice. We know what we're doing. Using that framework, deontology, and evaluating the right to be forgotten from the opposing side. A deontologist may say that, well, someone who puts their information out on the internet, they made that decision to put their information out there. If people knowingly put out their information on the internet, then that's their choice from the ethical standpoint. At the same time, as long as they're following the rules and it's not illegal to have information on the internet, it's not illegal to have collecting data from people, then these businesses and the government, is the one who makes the laws, as long as it's not illegal, then there's no ethical problem with it. And so that is how it is viewed through the framework of deontology. Let's go into the arguments for opposing the right to be forgotten. One, websites are pretty expensive, but depending on how you're operating your website, and if you're running a full-fledged business or anything for government agencies that gets a lot of traffic, people are coming in and looking at this website, it's actually going to cost you a lot of money or time to maintain that website. You have to think about, getting your domain name, the name of your website, owning that, paying for that. But more importantly, you're definitely wanting to pay for security, measures that you have in place, updates that you're going to be applying to your website. And the people that are working on your team, the people that are actually doing these jobs, they have to get paid too. Depending on how small or big your company is, for about a small or medium-sized company for websites, their cost is about, $500 to $500 a month, which is about, $6,000 a year. That's just in website maintenance. And then that is tenfold more for a large business like Amazon, Facebook, that gets traffic. Their maintenance site is probably about $60,000 or more a year. This is where the first argument comes down for opposition, for, supporting us collecting data and keeping it. These websites, one way is that a lot of websites make money is by selling data that is collected on websites and through ads or AdSense. Whenever a user interacts or clicks on an ad or swipes through it, the advertisement gets money and the website gets paid. It's kind of the same way as how we would have basically grocery store ads or just random newspaper ads sent to our mailbox. People are getting paid for advertising. But now, because of the internet and collection data, they can send targeted ads that, are ads that are things or products that you're likely to buy as a consumer, or you're likely to be interested in, or open your eyes to something new. So that is one reason why it's saying that it's a win-win for both parties, because the the company gets paid that's hosting the website, and you as a consumer you're going to get more information about things that you might want to buy potentially or be interested in. Really, a loss of this ads, they would lose a lot of money because that is really a bulk of their, or like a good chunk of their income and revenue. And you're going to get ads on lots of things from like apps to websites, different types of websites, games. Sometimes like a game might be free, but they have a lot of ads on it because they have to make money somehow to keep that product up there and keep it free for you to access. So just imagine that, what would happen if we didn't have any ads, and it'd be a lot harder for people to make money as a business. And it could really just eventually be the downfall of a business. Second argument that people are bringing up, forcing websites to take down personal data would be infringement on the First Amendment. And so basically you're saying that information on these websites that are collected about, whatever it is, it's technically the company's product and their ownership, because they collected the data and then they're just displaying it. They're selling it to other companies. Sometimes you may not even see what data is going on behind the scenes about what exactly is sharing about you. But yeah, they're collecting it. They're saying if you're going out and you're investigating, you're observing this, that's their data. So to restrict that and forcing down other people to take down whatever is on their website, that's their freedom of speech, and that's an infringement because they're saying that, I can't have this, I can't say this, you're restricting the speech. It's not something that's not true. It's not defamation. Then that is apparently wrong. And that brings me into the third argument for why many people are saying that we should oppose this is there's information on websites and the internet that is about criminal activity and exposing people, bringing their crimes into light, per se. So a really great example of this as well is just any government-funded website that is about sex offenders. And you can look up your city and type in, sex offenders, blah, blah, your city. And it will come up with a list from your county or some police department, your zip code. And you can search through and you can find a public list of sex offenders in your area. And that's always been helpful for people because if their information wasn't displayed, you wouldn't be able to know that. And so if the right to be forgotten on the internet was permitted, and just about anybody, including these criminals, could request to have their information removed, people wouldn't know about their wrongdoings. And that doesn't just come down to violent sex offenders. That could be anything from like politicians that have been exposed for corruption, or businesses that have horrible business practices. These businesses and politicians as well could request to have their information removed. One of the main arguments against this claim are supporting the right to be forgotten would be that people have the right to their own privacy. People have the right to, to stay private. People counter this argument by saying that the First Amendment, freedom of speech, is a protected right. However, the right to privacy is not a protected right under the Constitution. And this is, these are examples really apply to America, the United States, for example, to be specific. And so, hence, that is why people will say, well, I can't, it's not a protected right, not yet. And then the second argument would be posing a second counter argument for people supporting to have information removed from the internet would be that people have the right to their own privacy. And once again, that is not a protected right by the Constitution. Could be countered by, countering that example would be that, again, it's not a protected right by the Constitution, and that the First Amendment, once again, freedom of speech. So basically, double whammy. You have the right to say something. If it's true, it's not false about the person, then you can't get in trouble for it. Those would be main reasons for supporting the right to be forgotten, and the biggest counter arguments from the opposing side. In conclusion, from this standpoint of this essay, the right to be forgotten should not be permitted because it would hinder free speech, and people could get away with crimes by not being exposed on the internet, and as well as that data collection and sharing is a big portion of a website's funding. A good call to action for this would be that good people don't have anything to hide. And so, all in all, those are the points of my essay that I have came up with for this supporting topic of opposing the right to be forgotten on the internet. Thank you for listening and watching. Bye.